Hello, all you coin aficionados out there, and welcome to DC Coin World International Coin Channel. Today we have a Buffalo nickel from the United States of America. Sometimes you see these called the Indian head nickel, and a nickel in the United States of America is worth 5 cents. And the modern nickel, many of you have seen them, looks something like this. Has Jefferson facing to the left. It has the year, the date, has the "In God We Trust." These ones do not have the "In God We Trust" on them. And at the back it says 5 cents. So even though the US dime, and here's a dime, says 1 dime on it, which is worth 10 cents, it never says 10 cents on the US dime. And it never says a nickel on the US nickel. It says 5 cents. So there you go. We don't have a system that's consistent, but we do have a system. So as United States of America, e pluribus unum, we see the buffalo here, we see the 5 cents here. And then if we turn it up on its side, we see that it has a smooth edge. This is a copper nickel coin. It weighs about 5 grams, or it did when they made it. And then you see where we come to our issues. It says Liberty here, which is the only writing on the top of the coin. And then down here is where the date's supposed to be, and we just cannot see any date here. So this is the profile of the Indian chief. It comes down. This is a braid that goes through the 2 feathers. His neck comes down here, shoulder comes out here, and right up on top of his shoulder is where the date was. And that date, because it was raised and kind of above the rest of the coin, just all wore down. So it's very common to find an Indian head or a buffalo nickel that has no date on it. Now, this is not one person here. It's a composite of 3 different Indian chiefs that they kind of took their pictures and they put them all kind of together for this engraving. So it's an Oglala Sioux chief named Irontail, a Cheyenne chief named Two Moons, and a Kiowa chief named Big Tree. And they took characteristics from all 3 of them and put them together on what was really a beautifully engraved nickel. Now, is there any way you can find out what the date is? Well, I'd say yes, there is. The FBI has some specific techniques that they can use to get dates and numbers off filed or messed up metal objects. So what happens sometimes is somebody will buy a gun and file off the serial number, and the FBI can actually, because when you stamp the metal, it actually sends traces right down through the metal. So if you're willing to spend a few $1,000s, you can probably figure out, or if you have some kind of imaging device, you can probably figure out what the date is on here, but it's not ever going to be worth that much, so don't do that. Now, here's another way you can find out the date if it's one specific date. If it's a 1913, you can flip it over. And in 1913, when they first made this was a full mound underneath. There was no cutouts in here. And so after they had produced about 14 million of these coins in 1913, they realized that the 5 cents was already rubbing off because it was raised. And the mint marks were rubbing off because they were on raised too. So they took this mound underneath the buffalo and they did a cutout and recessed it. So if you find a regular 1913, it will have a mound here and the 5 cents on top. And the 5 cents is probably going to be worn off if you find one of those. But there's plenty of good specimens out there without the 5 cents raised off. And if you find that coin with the so-called mound under the buffalo coin with the 5 cents on top of it, it's probably going to be worth anywhere from $6 to whatever dollars. This particular coin, it lists in sites like Numista for about 5 cents. Now, why did they do this? Well, I think they had these beautiful designs. They put them out, and they just hadn't calculated in what the wear level would be on these. They're heavy coins. They rub together all the time. If you put anything raised on them, it's going to get worn off. Can we get a guess other than now that we know it's not 1913 because it doesn't have a full mound here? Any other year that it could be? Well, not really. We know it was made between 1913 and 1938. What's the most likely year? The most likely year is probably 1936 because they made about 119 million of them, and there in only one other year did they make up to 80 million, and that was 37. So in 36 and 37, you may be able to find these coins. What they did in 36 and 37, they went from 20 to 30 million a year to 119 and 80 million the 2 years in a row. They were trying to jumpstart the U.S. economy by putting some more money in circulation, and the U.S. was finally trying to come out of the Depression. So chances are it's a 36 or 37, but we have absolutely no way of knowing without forensic testing. Again, a beautiful coin, but we don't know the date, and so really it's worth to a coin dealer somewhere in the nickel plus range. To me, it's worth a lot more than that just because you don't see them that often. And so if you find one, I just keep it. But if you find one and want to sell it, which doesn't have a date on it, unless it has the full mound on the back, you are not going to make any money from it. Have a great day from the DC Coin World International Coin Channel.